Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and today on the podcast, know what you're serving in your cafe to your customers. This subject has come along thanks to a recent experience I had in a cafe here in Sydney, Australia, and it just made me think that we should talk about this on the podcast. Before we get started, if you are interested in trying your hand at learning how to be a consultant in the coffee industry, consider the Coffee Consultants 6-week program launching again in September, towards the end of September. So head to the show notes to figure out the links to get you more information on that. While I have you, please consider subscribing, whether you're listening to this podcast or you're watching here on YouTube. Okay. Why should you know the coffee that you're serving? So let me explain the situation that happened for me. I was going for a walk and I felt like a coffee, and I went to try a new cafe in my local area. As you guys know, I recently moved back here to Australia, and I am rediscovering the coffee scene here, and really excited by the coffees that I've had and the cafes that I've been to. But something that I have noticed is rather interesting. So I walked to this new cafe, I recognized the roaster. I hadn't had any of the coffee that this roaster has roasted since I've been back. They existed before I left. And so I thought, great, I'll stop in here and I'll grab a coffee. I asked if they had batch brew and they said, no, we don't. So I asked for a half full long black. Now there were 3 baristas and someone on the POS, and I asked them what coffee they had on offer. Did they have just the blend or was it a single origin? And unanimously they all said, no, it's single origin. Awesome. Okay. Then the question, what is it? And kind of everybody looked at everybody else and nobody knew even the origin of the coffee. And I immediately felt like, I hate that feeling where I've asked a question that's left the baristas feeling uncomfortable. But this is a pretty basic question, right? If you're offering black coffee and you're offering single origins, at the very least, you should know the origin of the coffee and you should know the processing method at a bare minimum. And so they didn't know. And then so they started taking a guess, and I could see in front of me, if I just looked past the cashier and looked above the fridge behind them, the bags of coffee were there. I couldn't quite make out the origin, but one of the baristas saw me looking over there, so they said, hold on, why don't I check? So he went and grabbed a bag of the coffee and he said, it's a Kenyan. I should have known better than to ask the next question and tried to catch the question as it came out of my mouth, but I was too late. And he had already put the bag up by then. And I said, was it a natural or a washed, or does he know anything about the processing? And they all just looked at me as though I was talking another language. Now, to be clear, this is a specialty coffee cafe, and the roaster prides themselves on the quality of the coffee that they purchase. So this was not, I expected more. Let's just say that. I didn't expect them to tell me who the producer was or anything like that. I wasn't interested. I hadn't had a coffee for a week, and I just wanted to know what I was drinking at the very base minimum. So that barista rolled his eyes and asked me if he'd like me to check on the bag what the processing method was. And of course I said, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And just politely walked away. Now, I wasn't asking those questions to be an asshole or to let them know that I was a professional or anything like that. I was asking the question because I was genuinely interested to know what I was going to be drinking. And I walked away from that feeling as though, one, I had made them feel uncomfortable, and two, I felt uncomfortable myself. And what that left me thinking was, I'm not quite sure that I'm going to enjoy this coffee. And the reason is because, as with all the barista training that I ever did back when I did barista training, I would say to people, do everything that you can to make sure that somebody is excited about enjoying the coffee that you're serving them. And in this situation, that didn't happen because I was left feeling icky about the exchange. And I'm sure they didn't feel great either. And nothing I could say left them feeling any better, because the way that they ended up responding to me was as though I was an asshole. And that wasn't my intention at all. It's not just coffee professionals that ask you, hey, what am I drinking? It's, as an industry, we're trying to educate our customers so that they do ask questions like that, so that they are interested in the coffees that we're serving them. The other thing is that how can we as an industry expect our customers to want to know about the supply chain and want to know about origins and producers and processing methods if we don't know those questions, the answers to those questions ourselves? And so this is where it really leans on the culture of the workplace to encourage and train in a way that gets baristas and the whole staff excited about being able to answer those questions. Now, when anyone comes to your cafe, when you've been claiming to be a specialty coffee cafe, and you can't answer those fundamental questions, or your staff can't answer those fundamental questions, it already tells the person, whoever they are, that this is a specialty coffee shop by name only. So just a few things to think about. I think these things are important for us to consider. And I think that in our constant pursuit to elevate ourselves in the industry and to get more professional, these are the kinds of things that we can just tighten up a little bit to make sure that everyone on our team and our colleagues and everyone who's involved in our hospitality business is as informed as everybody else, and helping to push the products that we sell with integrity and with knowledge. So just something that I wanted to put out there. These are the very basic minimum things that a barista should know of all the coffees that they're serving. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Don't forget to subscribe. Have an amazing rest of your day.